Hopalam Belatwiv.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Last month, I was asked by the Leader of the Opposition if I would consider taking on an additional responsibility and become the Opposition spokesperson for seniors' issues. I agreed to take on the file, and 2 days later, the Office of the Seniors Advocate released a report about the impact of caring for an aging senior on the caregiver. As this was a new file for me, I had to roll up my sleeves pretty quickly and dig into the report. And what I learned suggested to me that we are not doing all that we can for caregivers, Honourable Speaker. These are caregivers who are caring for an aging parent, spouse, relative, or friend. And I know that everyone in this House agrees that unpaid caregivers are a critical piece of our healthcare system. These caregivers are spouses, children, and neighbors. They are grandchildren, nieces, and nephews. They are people committed to the well-being of their senior, intent on keeping them as healthy and as safe as possible so that they can remain in their homes for as long as possible. Honourable Speaker, unpaid caregivers are often the only thing standing between the older person's continued ability to stay in their home and residential care. We know that caring for a senior can be physically, emotionally, and spiritually exhausting. The physical activities of lifting, carrying, and supporting can have significant physical impact. Caring for an aging or ill loved one has an emotional toll as well. Watching your loved one become physically frailer or disappear into the haze of dementia can overwhelm the caregiver with grief. I know. I watched my dad care for my mom for years as cancer slowly eroded her independence. He was there to help her up the stairs, help her in the shower, give her pain medications, sleep beside her so when she woke in the middle of the night, he could give her more pain relief. He prepared her meals, and as she slowly wasted away, he would be the one to urge her to eat. He would beg her to eat. Every day, I watched his heart break just a little bit more to see the love of his life disappear before his very eyes. My dad was fortunate. My sister and I would spell him off to give him a break on weekends, and a lovely neighbor who was a nurse would help out when my father needed a hand or a good night's sleep. Caring for my mom created significant stress for my dad, but he had other supports, and my mom's health deteriorated rather quickly before she died, so the round-the-clock care only lasted 4 months. But it took a toll. How could it not? So while we talk about the desire to keep seniors in their homes for as long as possible, and while we talk about the valuable role that caregivers play in the desire to keep seniors in their homes, in their own homes, the report from the Office of the Seniors Advocate entitled "Caregivers in Distress, More Respite Needed" paints a picture that suggests that we just aren't doing enough. A 2009 economic study found that the national market value of unpaid caregiver care is $25 to $65 billion a year. So it's reasonable to estimate that in British Columbia in 2005, that unpaid care has a value of about $4.1 billion. The Seniors Advocate identified over 30,000 seniors in BC who are able to live at home because of the support of an unpaid caregiver. I believe that everyone in this House and that all British Columbians agree that these unpaid caregivers are an incredibly valuable, and I would even argue a critical component of our healthcare system. The report, however, notes that we need to do more for these unpaid caregivers. These people who provide care need to be supported themselves so that they can continue to do the lion's share of the work, Honourable Speaker. The report focused on the need for respite for caregiving duties and notes that if we invest in our caregivers and ensure that they have easy access to breaks from care, they will be better able to support their senior for far longer at home. The Seniors Advocate studied a subset of seniors, those who have been assessed as eligible for Healthcare Authority-provided home support services. In all, she looked at just over 31,000 seniors. The data analysis showed that 1/3 of caregivers are in distress, and she notes that unpaid caregivers experience greater distress the greater the hours of unpaid caregiving. The report notes, and I quote, "In BC, the odds of having a distressed caregiver are 4 times more likely for clients receiving 20 hours or more of unpaid care per week than for clients receiving just 6 hours or less." End quote. The report also notes that where the senior needing care has some sort of cognitive impairment, behavioral challenge, or depression, the caregiver is far more distressed than in those situations where these challenges aren't present. If we are intent on supporting seniors staying in their homes as long as possible, because we know that that's what's in their best interest, and we know that it's way more cost-effective to keep these people in their homes, then we need to be investing in these caregivers. Caring for a depressed person who may have some sort of dementia for more than 30 hours a week has to be overwhelming, and the burden for their care has to take a toll. So what did the seniors advocate learn? She learned that while 16,000 seniors could benefit from respite, meaning they were entitled to access respite services, only 11% used a respite bed in the last year. And in the last week, 7% participated in an adult day program, and 53% used home support. She also found that 29% of clients assessed have a caregiver in distress. And for these seniors with distressed caregivers, only 9% attended adult day program and only 47% received home support services. What she learned, Honourable Speaker, is that there is poor coordination in health authorities to ensure that adult day program spaces are properly utilized. Some programs have long wait lists, while others have empty spaces. She also learned that transportation to these programs is limited, making them inaccessible to seniors in some communities. So we have a situation where 91% of the distressed caregivers are not making use of adult day programs that exist in their communities. And what about home support services? Services that would ease the burden for caring for a senior in their home. Only 47% of seniors eligible for these services received them in the last week. The model for providing home support assumes that the family will provide most of the care, with home support filling the gap between what the client needs and what the family can provide. The seniors advocate notes that, and I quote, "Lack of staffing or budget constraints rather than client need would appear to influence the hours of support provided in some parts of the province," end quote. Finally, the seniors advocate notes that while the total number of seniors receiving care and the total number of hours providing care has increased, these increases have not kept pace with population growth. So there has actually been a decrease in the number of clients who get the home support hours that they need, and so we can't keep seniors in their home for longer, a place where they want to live out their years in comfort and familiarity with the people that they love. We need to do better, Honourable Speaker. We ought to do better, Honourable Speaker. We ought to do better, and seniors deserve better, Honourable Speaker. And finally, their caregivers deserve better.
Thank you, Member. I recognize the member for Abbotsford South.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and thank you to the member opposite for her comments. I'm happy to respond today to the private member's statement on investing in our seniors. We have heard from seniors that care and supports in their local community to enable them to live in their homes longer is important to them. And it is important to ensure, we know, that we have proper supports in place to support them. Almost 1/6 of BC's population is over the age of 65. Today we have some 750,000 seniors in the province, and we know that that will double by the year 2035. In fact, the data from Statistics Canada shows that seniors are now outnumbering children in this province. This is something which will impact on the healthcare system, and government is preparing. We invest substantial resources to support seniors' healthcare. BC has more than 32,000 publicly subsidized residential care, family care home, and assisted living and group home beds. In the 2014-2015 fiscal year, health authorities reported spending over $2.8 billion on home and community care. Government has provided $26 million in funding to enhance and support Better at Home program, which operates in 67 program sites throughout the province. Better at Home is a non-medical home support program that helps seniors with simple day-to-day tasks so that they can continue to live independently in their own homes. Better at Home services may include light housekeeping, grocery shopping, visits, and transportation to appointments. Not only do we support seniors in staying in their homes as long as possible, Honourable Speaker, but we want to also help communities be more accessible and senior-friendly. With this in mind, in September, we announced continued funding of $500,000 for 2016 for age-friendly community planning. It also includes project grants of up to $20,000. This program helps communities better plan for an aging population through age-friendly planning and projects. Projects are meant to reflect the vision of an age-friendly British Columbia, in which older people are supported to live active, socially engaged, and independent lives. A few examples of projects include a seniors drop-in support center in the village of Fraser Lake, a seniors bus providing accessible, reliable, and affordable transportation options in North Delta. Nakusp is home to a seniors resource fair, and the village of Sayward has an outdoor gym and wellness program for seniors. Ensuring that vulnerable seniors are as safe as possible also means assisting those with dementia. Government is committed to ensuring that those with dementia and Alzheimer's have access to early diagnosis, treatment, and support. The province's Dementia Action Plan commits government to supporting community programs, such as the Alzheimer's Society of BC's First Link program. It refers people with dementia and their families to support services early as possible. First Link is available in locations throughout BC. It's available in Lower Mainland, Fraser Valley, Sunshine Coast, North and Central Okanagan, Interior, Northern BC, and Vancouver Island. Since 1997, the province has provided a total of $10.7 million to support the Alzheimer's Society of British Columbia. We want British Columbians, as well as their families, to know that resources are available to them. The BC Seniors Guide is a resource to help older adults and their families and caregivers find information on supports and services they need. This includes information on provincial programs as well as what is available federally, with sections on benefits, health, lifestyle, housing, transportation, finance, and safety. When it comes to seniors, there's a strong voice in place that speaks on their behalf. That is the seniors advocate, Isabel McKenzie, and her staff are working hard to identify solutions to systemic issues. They are also making recommendations to government on ways to improve BC's aging population. Her office has presented reports ranging from seniors housing to caregiver distress and is currently working on a major initiative to track elder abuse and neglect. We are committed to providing the services and supports to enable high quality of life for all seniors. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Thank you. Member for Coquitlam, Balattville.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and I appreciate the comments by the member from Abbotsford South. Honourable Speaker, British Columbians know that unpaid caregivers are an invaluable part of our healthcare system. We know that most of the unpaid caregivers in British Columbia are family members who love and worry about their senior. We know that these family members are committed to their senior and want to do right by them by keeping them at home for as long as possible. And now, Honourable Speaker, we know that 1/3 of these caregivers are distressed. We know that their ability to continue caring for their loved one is compromised. We know that there are 9,000 British Columbians who are in distress and who are caring for their mom, their dad, their husband, their wife, or their sibling. Just last week, St. Elizabeth, a Vancouver coastal home support provider, confirmed that in order to be consistent with provincial guidelines, they must limit assistance only to personal medical care. They are leaving the rest of the work, like house cleaning, laundry, cooking, and shopping, to friends and family. This flies in the face of what the Seniors Advocate has learned. This is not support for caregivers. This is not support for seniors. And while the member from Abbotsford South mentioned better at home, to have yet more strangers in a senior's home, and I want to sort of recognize that who has to coordinate all these different people coming into the senior's home? Well, it's the caregiver, Honourable Speaker. This just adds to their stress. We know that the services that government provides to offer relief are not working as they should. We also know that it is far more cost-effective to British Columbian taxpayers to support these unpaid caregivers than to have these seniors in residential care. We are failing to connect our most distressed caregivers with the services and resources they need to make caring for their loved one easier. We are not determining who needs the most support. We are not properly tracking how many caregivers need a break. We are not making sure that access to supports is the same across the province, and we are not ensuring that these services to support caregivers are keeping up with the growing senior population in this province. Honourable Speaker, British Columbian seniors deserve the highest level of care possible. They deserve the very best. They deserve caregivers who are patient, caring, and supported. They deserve a government that understands this. They deserve a government that recognizes when a system isn't working as it should. They deserve a government prepared to act, A government prepared to invest in them by making sure that their unpaid caregivers have the resources and the supports that they need so that they can continue to provide the very best care that their seniors deserve. Honourable Speaker, we need to do better. We ought to do better. Our seniors deserve better. Honourable Speaker, their caregivers deserve better. Thank you.
Thank you, Member.